Eric, man, just kind of let everybody know who you are, what you do, and who you serve.
Yeah, what's up, Dustin? I appreciate your time today, getting me on the show, so I can give some value to your audience. I'm Eric Rodgers, obviously, but I'm the owner of the Immortal Man. We help men take their power back so they can unlock success in all areas of their life. Really focused on leadership. I think every man has been given authority in their life, whether they're a father, a husband, a business owner, or whatever. And a lot of men struggle in that area. So that's my biggest mission, is to help men lead and impact the people around them. But yeah, I'm happy to be here. Thank you.
Awesome, man. Yeah, I think there's so much power in that. Just being able to lead, whether it's in business, with in life, especially as a father figure, right? So, like, I
Yeah,
have 4 kids. I like totally understand what it's like to have to lead by example because they're always, whether you believe it or not, they're always watching, listening, and they're going to mimic your movements. So, yeah, I
absolutely. I'm
love
a,
that
I'm a dad too. It's a big job.
for sure. For sure. So, who do you feel like has been the most influential leader in your life, and like how has that impacted how you lead?
Yeah. So a big part of my life, and the reason why I do what I do, is because I wasn't given the example of another man in my life. I wasn't given there's no leadership in my life. And so, if my story is super dark. I went through addiction for 16 years. I went through homelessness, gang affiliation, jail, all of that. And a part of, I believe, our purpose in life is to become who we always needed in our darkest times. And the one leader, I would say, or influence in my life that stuck around forever and didn't let me down and guided me into where I'm at today is Jesus. I'm a Christian. I'm a believer in Christ. I believe he's never left or forsaken me, which is huge because most men will. And so I've always focused on that because it will never let me down. And my faith is something that I'm really blessed in, even though I've gone through a lot. I did keep that throughout the time. So
That's awesome. Yeah, and I again, like, couldn't agree with you more. I normally don't have very many guests that we dive into this realm, and so I'm glad that I have that opportunity. And so,
absolutely.
when it comes to kind of faith, I don't share a lot of my story to the deeper level, right? And so, like, with you, it seems very relatable. So, like, I had gotten in a lot of trouble when I was younger. I was, a pain in the ass kid. And of course, running around just acting like a fool, I ended up getting in some trouble with the law. And I grew up in church, but it's one of those things to where, it was just something that we did. I would just go to church. I didn't understand the concept behind it. I wasn't really, interacting or anything like that. It was more or less I was being forced to go. But it wasn't until I got locked up for like the third time and I was looking at a very lengthy prison sentence
Wow.
did I kind of have that come to Jesus moment, more or less. And it was when I was locked up that, we had like church basically every Sunday.
That's cool.
And you got to hear other stories. You got to read scripture. You got to go through these things. And I think that it was just being surrounded by people that were in the same situation I was. And I saw how, they were willing to give it all to God. It's
Mm,
like, if they can do this, then why can't I? And so as I started doing that, getting into scripture more,
yeah.
it started to make sense. Everything just kind of, I started really leaning on faith. And Jeremiah 29:11 is probably one of the most impactful scriptures that I've ever came across. And it's one of those things trying to identify and find out what is your purpose.
Mm,
And when you look to God for that, it's like a lot of people only lean to God when struggles happen. And when things are good, it's like, oh, I did this on my own, right? We don't look at it both ways. And when struggles start to happen, it's like, well, why God this? Why God that? And it's like, no, God's giving you that struggle for a reason to test your faith. Like, are you going to praise him through the storm as much as you do, through the good times. But
Right.
yeah, that's cool, man. I like
Yeah,
that.
absolutely. I mean, we will be severely humbled if we try to take the glory for what God did. I believe that is our purpose is to give him the glory and through our situation. And no, I love it because I've never met a man that has met Jesus or accepted Jesus when he was doing really well. Every man that
Yeah.
actually has been born again has been through the fire. And so there's that something you see it in common with people that share their testimonies on Jesus. It's always the same type of situation and scenario, like how they were transformed. It wasn't because everything was going well. And it's just funny how we have to lower ourselves, that we have to die in order for us to be reborn and to live again. And it's really cool because then we in community, right? Me and you, we've never met each other, Dustin, but we have that in common. And every Christian on this planet does too. And so I believe that's what creates family, is the connection through pain and also through life, right? Which is in Christ. So I love that, man. Thank you for sharing.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. So, you know, how do you feel like you stay grounded as a leader? When things get overwhelming, what do you feel like is that thing that grounds you other than, Jesus? Is there anything that you do, like routine related or whatever it may be, that you have to bring yourself back to square one as a leader?
Absolutely. And that the word is routine. It's structure, right? This last year, I went through one of the hardest years of my life in every way, financially, family. I kept my health, but the biggest part is that old Eric, when everything falls apart, I believe that when everything falls apart, your true character is shown. That's actually who you are, right? In old Eric, that when everything fell apart, it was drugs, alcohol, partying, sleeping in, whatever, pleasure seeking, comfort seeking, doing bad things. Like my old self was very bad. I was an evil, I was a wicked person. And so this time, I believe God allowed this to happen in my life to kind of not just to continue to humble me and make me better, but also to show me that, hey, this is who you are. And I was able to get closer to God. It was wake up every day with a structure, a routine, and a purpose. It was all about, you know, my faith. It was all about making sure that my fitness and my health stayed on point. I ate all my meals. I went to the gym. I built relationship with the family that I did have and the things that I did have, but also just looking at my life, even if it was little at the time, the gratitude of it. So just having that routine every single day, I believe creates a foundation and stability in our life, right? The four pillars of stability: faith, family, fitness, finances, right? When we let one of those go, you can't sit very long on a chair with three legs. It just doesn't work. We crash eventually. So to continue to keep that foundation there is key. I believe that allows us to show up every day as a leader and with intention and purpose, and make every conversation, matter. And I think people, especially if they know what's going on in your life, see that as a strength, and that's someone they want to follow.
Yeah. Yeah, I like that. And that kind of leads me into the segue of, I know that you and I were kind of discussing before, what all you kind of do and in those four pillars that you really lean heavily on. And
Yeah.
so going back to those four pillars, is that kind of what you covered, or is that something a little different?
Yeah, that's 100%. Wait, explain that. I'm sorry. So,
No, you're good.
yeah, say that again.
So
Sorry.
like you have the four things that you had mentioned to me in regards to
Okay, I know what you're saying.
whether they're rules of what it is that you follow. Is that similar to those four pillars you just mentioned, or are they different than that?
They're a little different. Some of them are aligned with that for sure. But they're aligned, but they're different. What I really wanted to talk about today was there's four painful truths that every man has to hear in order to become
Mhm.
successful, in order to become the best version of himself. It's something that most men, it goes over their heads. They are ignorant to it. They choose not to see it. They choose not to apply it to their life. And I think that it's these four things are what can turn most men's life around, whether they're stuck or powerless, or they just hit a ceiling in their life, or maybe they don't know where to go. But those four painful truths, are, they're limiting beliefs that we break, right? You want me to go over those?
Absolutely. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Okay. So the first one, we talked about fitness. I know this is a fitpreneur podcast, and so I know fitness is obviously important to you and the people that are listening. And so you guys may have this down, may not, but I believe that the condition of your body, it reveals the reality of your mental state, right? I believe that our bodies are a billboard to who we are at our very core. It says a lot about who we are, right? And maybe not at the beginning. If you're just starting to get in shape, man, obviously you may not look the way you want, but if you're working towards it, trust me, you're becoming, like, you are what you're working on, right? Like you're already that person, someone that's willing to put in the work, someone that's willing to get in shape. Like you're already looking at yourself and going, you know what? My body does reveal the reality of my mental state, and I don't want to feel like this anymore. So I'm going to do the work. But if you think about the average mental state of American men and you think about the average physical state of American men, they have to be aligned, right? Right? Your commitment issues are showing. Your stress is showing. Your lack of discipline is showing. Your lack of self-respect is showing, right? That's a fact. And people can tell. When I look at you, Dustin, and shake your hand, I can tell you're a winner. I can tell you not only you care for yourself, but you also have self-respect, that you don't have commitment issues. I could trust you because you trust yourself, right? If you were a truly a winner, it would show in everything you do. I believe that. I believe everything is a reflection. The second painful truth is that the balance of your bank account, it mirrors the relationship, your relationship with your money. This is something I struggled with for a long time. I used to be homeless, and so I struggle with scarcity mindset. When you lose everything, and you know that it's possible to lose everything, it's really hard to rebuild that into like an abundance mindset. But the one thing that I see amongst like all people struggling financially is that they don't manage their money, right? They're so focused on earning, but they have no idea where it's all going. They have no idea what happens to the money as soon as it turns into cash inside of their bank account, right? And so like you cannot grow something by avoiding it, right? What you water will grow. If you like your health and your physical body does not get better by avoiding exercise. Your relationship, your marriage doesn't get better by avoiding your wife. So why would your money get better if you avoid managing it, right? So you got to changing your perspective on money. And something I like to present to people is like, how do you feel when you pay your bills? Is it a negative feeling or is it like a positive feeling? And so this is the way to kind of gauge whether you have an abundance mindset or a scarcity mindset. And most people, especially if you don't like where you're at financially, would say, I don't enjoy paying bills. It sucks. So the exercise is, but to change your perspective on your bills and on money is when you pay that bill, looking a little bit deeper than just, hey, I'm paying a bill. Think about all the things. Let's say it's an electricity bill. Think about all the things that electricity powered for that month, and all the things that it helped you run your business. It's 110 degrees outside, so you ran your AC unit, you didn't die, right? Let's go deeper than that, right? The workers, they set poles and they ran wires from pole to pole to your house. You should be grateful for that, and want to pay them. Not just that, is they're feeding their family. And so if you really change your perspective on things and you look a little bit deeper, you'll always find a positive in it. And then you can, instead of having a scarcity mindset, like I don't want to pay this bill, it's like you're grateful to, right? And that's really where we want to be with money. The third painful truth is that the state of your relationships is a reflection of your own self-worth, right? You would never, if you were confident in yourself, you would never allow or tolerate someone to step all over you, first of all. And you would also be able to love fully, whether, in your marriage or your relationships, and serve that person without expectation of anything else in return, right? Because you know that you don't depend on that person for your happiness, right? Someone that's confident knows that, hey, they can do things on their own. They don't need anyone, and anyone in their life is just it's an add-on. It's a blessing. And so you're able to show up for that person full love and full servanthood. And at the core of your relationship issues is your selfishness, right? So if you're struggling in your relationships, look at your selfishness. At the core of your selfishness is usually your insecurities and your dependency issues, right? And so those are things you can work on. And the fourth painful truth is that your stability as a man is a direct reflection of your relationship with God, right? And what I mean by that is like what is the greatest gift a father can give is stability. It's unwavering strength for that child, right? A good father is unmovable and unshakable for that child. He's a pillar of strength. And so in times of crisis for us, in times of chaos, when everything's falling apart, that's what God is for us. He is a pillar of strength. He offers us a hand. And if we choose to grab it, then we don't have to waver. We don't have to go with the ebbs and flows of our business, and the ebbs and flows of everything in life, the ups and the downs, the chaos. Like we can have consistency in our life if we grab the hand of God, because that's what He is for us. Now, godless men are unstable men. I believe that. I truly believe that. They're unstable men because they value themselves, or they attach their worth on material items. They attach their worth on their title. They attach their worth on their house, their cars, their money, the amount of girls they have. I mean, you name it. I've been there. I'm sure you have too. And guess what? If you attach your worth to those things, when they're not there, you will feel absolutely worthless. Right. And that's it's really hard to build off of that. And so I believe that living a godly life is living a stable life. And those are the painful truths that every man must know.
Yeah, I like that. They all are very relatable to things I've been in my past.
Yeah.
And I'm sure as well as a lot of the audience and the listeners can relate to that as well. You know, kind of going back and looking at some of that, expanding on a few of them, definitely the money one for me, for sure.
Yeah.
And there was a time where, I've made a lot of money and there's been times where I've had no money.
Right.
And it's the time where I've had no money that I was always looking at the bank account, always, cussing every bill that came in the mail. And then the times that I had money, I wouldn't look at the bank account at all. And after a while, I realized that I was doing it completely ass backwards. And the reason why is because when I had the money, it would just fall through my fingers because it wasn't being managed
Yeah.
at all. And so I got to this point where it's like, you know what, that's going to be part of my routine. Every day I'm going to wake up, I'm going to check the bank, I'm going to look at what money's coming in, what money's going out. And when I started doing that, it was like there was just a lot of reckless spending that was occurring. And if I wasn't looking at it, then yeah, I would have never noticed. And
Totally.
so being able to tighten up on finances and things like that, definitely money for me for sure.
Yeah.
And the self-worth that you feel like is tied to external things. I feel like as an entrepreneur, there comes a time or a season in your life that we all want more. And so cars, for example, Rolexes, clothes, trips, all of
Right.
this stuff. I feel like there's a season for that only because it's like, and I'll, for example, like a McLaren, like I always wanted nice cars, right?
Yeah.
There came a point in time where it's like, I'm going to buy this car. And I just blew the money on it, drove the car for about 4 or 5 months. And then it was like, it doesn't mean anything anymore. And so I got rid of the car because for one, it wasn't economical for the family, couldn't fit all the kids in it and everything else. It would just
Yeah.
sit. And I feel like that's one of those things that people go and do. And it's just like, oh, it's my status that I made it, that I did something.
Right.
And then once that season passes, it's like a watch is just a watch. A car is just a car. They all do the same thing.
Yeah.
Um, and once you're out of that season, it's like when you throw status out the window, like life changes and it becomes much more enjoyable.
Yeah. 100%. It's when you have everything, you realize the most important things are the little things right in front of you, like the time with the kids, time with the wife, because I've been the guy. Like, I'm saying these things, these painful truths are from experience, bro. It's not that I knew these and I never went through these things. No, bro. Like, I lost my family. I lost my wife and my kid last year because I was so focused on money, that I stopped valuing and caring for my family, and they left. Like, these are all mistakes that I made, and I'm still learning from, and I still have consequences from. You know, they're painful truths I had to hear, and I'm learning from. And
Yeah.
so, you know, I think the biggest thing is that it's okay to have all those things, you know, but if it's your worth, like if it becomes your idol per se, like I feel like God will take it from you. And if you put all your value and all your worth into something that can be taken from you, then it's going to hurt you pretty bad. You know what I mean? It's going to be hard to recover from that. So it's okay to have those things. Just don't make it your God. Like, you can
Yeah.
have them, enjoy them, but focus on things, you know, that can't be taken from you. Even your family, your house, your car can be taken from you. But you know what can't is that's the your character, right? It's getting up in the gym and going to the gym every day and eating the food that you need to eat, and you know, reading your Bible, having a relationship with God, and all those little things in your morning routine that build character. Like, those can't be taken from you, bro, until your life's taken. And so, you know, focus on those things. Value yourself on the things that can't be taken from you. Those are your identity, right? The rest is just an add-on.
Yeah,
Yeah,
definitely. Focus on the internal and not the external because that's what matters, right?
yeah,
And to a point. So like there's I have a buddy, he's built $100 million business, and hearing it come from him meant so much more because there was a time where it's like, man, I want what he has. I want all of that. And
yeah,
when he literally took everything he had, got rid of it, sold it, moved into like a little bitty house, and he's like, there's no happiness in the external, it's all in the internal. And to your point, what you said in the very first one, when it comes to kind of building your body, building your mind, things like that, there is so much power in just walking into a room and seeing someone that's in shape. You can tell that that person's disciplined. You can tell that that person has characteristics or character traits that they understand what needs to happen.
yeah,
You know what I mean? It's just
absolutely.
it's almost like, and looking back, like even in high school and things like that, you see that really jacked dude, and it's like, man, like I want to be like that. And so you go to the gym, you start working out, you do all this stuff, and there's just something about it, like just something about being in decent shape that it changes your perspective of what it is that you're supposed to do. The laziness, sleeping in, the not going to the gym, the eating whatever you want to eat. And it's like, dude, like your body is your temple. Like freaking dial it in and the mind will follow.
Yeah,
That's how I've always seen it.
absolutely, absolutely. I think we've always looked, especially as kids, we've always looked to figures like superheroes or people that really deprived themselves of fun, and they were just disciplined. And there's something about men wanting that trips me out, but it's so true. Like, it is better to suffer your whole life, bro, than to live in pleasure. Because I've done both, you know, and I believe it's the power you have over yourself, power you have over your mind. You could drive past McDonald's, most people pull in, and it doesn't even phase you. You know what I mean? Like, you know what you want, and you're willing to get it, and it just applies to every part of your life, right? You go into business deals, it's like, bro, you just hit a 3 hour workout and you've been eating 7 meals a day for 6 years, bro. Like, you ain't afraid of no sales deal. Like, it changes the way you see things, you know? I absolutely love
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, for sure. And I think that there's so many people that I see that become successful as a byproduct of them just working on themselves first.
Yeah.
And a lot of entrepreneurs today in today's marketplace, whether it's a coach, consultant, in the online space, I feel like there's so many bold claims and all these guarantees that tell people, hey, it's easy. Like it's super easy to do. Like you can make 10K in 30 days. You can make six figures in a couple months. Like it's easy. And so people get into that. And they're like, they invest the money, they want to try, and then they realize how hard it is.
Yeah.
And everybody wants the success, but nobody wants the pain. And you can't have one without the other.
You can't.
And it's unavoidable.
Yeah,
You've got to go through the pain in order to see it.
yeah, exactly. That's why I know when someone's in shape, I know they have character, you know? And not everyone knows that. Like some people might look at me and go like, he's a douche, but like when I see someone in shape, because I know the pain, it's like, I want to do business with that guy, you know? I want
Yeah.
to, I want to hang out with that guy. And the right people, like I believe your vibe attracts your tribe, right? The more you build yourself up, the more valuable you become, the more of the right type of people will want to be around you. And that's really like what life is about, especially in business, because we don't want to go out there and search for our people. So we want them to come to us, right? We want to be the influencer, not the influenced, right? That's what builds
Yeah.
a good brand. That's what builds a good business. That's what creates the best circles, unstoppable circles.
Yeah, for sure. Attract and not chase, for
Yeah,
sure.
yeah.
So how, with everything that you have going on, like how do you balance or find that balance between being like a hands-on leader and being able to empower the people that you work with to take ownership? Because I feel like that's a big piece of riding that line of holding people accountable
Yeah.
and yet maintaining the leadership.
Yeah. Again, I believe that not everyone's built for what I do because I do things a little bit differently as far as my programs go. My leadership development programs, the Immortal Man, we call it an atonement system. And so the way it works is we have things our clients have to do every single day and every single week. And those things are going to help them build their businesses. Those things are going to help them make more money. They're going to help their families become, their relationships become stronger, their relationships with God, their fitness, all these things that a man needs. If you don't do these things, then everything counts as a certain amount of burpees. And the way it works at the end of the week, we add that number up in our small group, and everyone has to pay for each other's slip ups. And so I believe the answer is accountability, but not just, hey, you need to do better. An actual, consequential, you know, type of accountability. This is leadership. When you slip, they fall. When you forget to do what you're supposed to do, your family suffers. And so the way the program is built is it rewires your mind to take ownership when you slip and actually see the actual consequence, and that it may not even be paid by you. And so that's how we do things here. It's more of like a militant style program, but it works. It works. These guys actually get what they came for. So we can actually guarantee the results with this. Um,
Yeah.
I believe that's what it takes sometimes. You know what I mean? Like leadership is not, it says in the Bible, not everyone should be a leader. It's like the one thing it
Yeah.
says not everyone should be. And there's a reason why, because people won't take accountability. There's a lot of corruption, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. No, I agree with that 100% about not everyone is built to be a leader.
Yeah.
And the same with not everyone's built to be an entrepreneur.
Right.
Everybody has their own path. We're all created different for a specific reason. And it's just finding what that purpose is. And
Totally.
I'm big on, being a leader only because it's one of the things that I knew a long time ago that I wasn't cut out for a 9 to 5. I was always wanting to do my own thing. And
Yeah.
then having kids, I felt like it was just my responsibility to lead by example.
Yeah.
And something I'm big on is taking extreme ownership. Like if you drop the ball and you screw up, like admit that you screwed up.
Yeah.
Hold yourself accountable because not everyone's going to be there to hold you accountable all the time. And
Absolutely.
that builds a character trait. And
Yeah.
the next one is definitely leading from the front because when I came up in blue collar and working tons of other jobs, when I envisioned a leader, it was someone doing it, someone being in the trenches with me, but it never seemed that way. It was always someone sitting in an office saying, hey, go do this, hey, go do that. And so whenever I started doing my own thing, it's like, no, I see a leader as leading from the front. So that's what I'm going to do. And
Right.
I'm big on show me, don't tell me.
Yeah.
Right. And I tell that to my kids all the time. It's like, well, I'm going to go and do this, or I'm going to do this, or I'm going to get better at this. It's like, show
Yeah.
me, don't tell me, show me.
Absolutely. How are my people or my clients or my athletes going to trust me if I'm not doing the work? Like why would they ever have to? Why would I even expect them to do what I asked them to if they don't think I can do it? You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
that's a big factor for sure because like I just talked about the burpees. I don't have to do those burpees. I do them every week with these guys. You know what I mean? And I do them because I want them to see that I'm in this with them. And sometimes we do 200, bro. It's not fun, but
Right.
it's all about that's I believe makes the difference between a good leader. The first person that you described as a secretary. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And I've told that to people like, you're not a leader, bro. You're a secretary. You're sitting in an office telling people what to do. Like, you're an engineer. You're not a, you know what I mean? You're not a leader. It's true.
Yeah. For sure. No, I couldn't agree more. So, you kind of mentioned a little bit about what you do, went through a little bit of your program. So, if there's people listening and they're like, man, that sounds super interesting, and they want to learn more about your program, or maybe they just want to connect with you because they like your vibe,
Yep.
like, where can they find you? What's the best place for them to go and find you at?
Yeah. So in our community, like join our community. It's completely free. It's a Facebook community called The Immortal Man. I'm sure I could drop a link in the description. And we do a bunch of really cool stuff. So it's like one of the only free communities that gives massive amounts of support to men. And we have men from all walks of life, whether they're in a leadership position and they just want to grow and become a better leader, or guys that are going through divorce, guys that have lost a loved one, guys that are, stuck in life and they're trying to figure out how to level up. The coolest thing about what we do is it is a brotherhood. You know what I mean? And there's a lot of men that need help, and there's a lot of men that won't admit they need help. They're quiet about it. This is a place you can come and you can get support, but it's also a place that we won't tolerate you to stay the same way. So we have things to push you. So we have support, and then we have programs to help push you. And then we also do a free Bible study every week as well. So there's tons of community in there, tons of support, and tons of ways that you can come and get better. So hit me up in that group. We do a bunch of lives and a bunch of like support chats with specialists and everything that are there to help you anytime. And then come join our Bible studies as well.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome, man. Yeah, if you want to shoot me that link over, I'll definitely drop it in the description so
All
people
right.
can just connect with you right there. Um, what what is the so at the end of every podcast, I like to look for, whether it's a quote, whether it's your favorite book or educational piece
Yeah.
that you would highly recommend either someone to know or someone to go and check out.
Hmm. That's a good one. I want to think something that's really helped me um, personally is The Way of the Superior Man. I don't know if you've read that book, but it is one of the most valuable books I believe for a man. I think masculinity is really missing, and I think we've lost what the definition of what it actually means. And so that book is a really good resource to help you with everything as a man, from sex to marriage to work to purpose. I think every man needs to read that book for sure.
Cool. Awesome. I'm going to
Yep.
definitely have to go and check that out when we're done for sure.
Yeah, it's a good one.
But awesome. So, yeah, any listeners that are looking for a gym, go check that out for sure. But Eric, man, it was awesome getting to connect with you, getting to talk to you. For all the listeners, I hope you got some value from it, and make sure that you check out the description if you're looking for support or community, or you just want to connect with Eric. And definitely, just if anything, it's cool to be around people that are like minded. So definitely check out his group. But Eric, I appreciate you being on here, man, for
Yeah,
sure.
bro. Thank you for having me.